Hi there, and welcome to the 10 most common IEP mistakes parents make. My name is Dr. Kathryn Garforth from Garforth Education, and I am an educational consultant. I know how frustrating and emotional IEPs can be because I've been through it as a student, a self-advocate, and as a parent. I have also been involved in individualized education plans as a professional. I know that in the beginning, everyone finds this whole process to be very overwhelming, and they are unsure of the best way to prepare for an individualized education plan. I want to go through some of the common mistakes with you so that you can try to avoid them and feel more confident going into your next IEP meeting. IEP mistake number 1. Thinking your role as a parent is not an important one. Now, I know it's very intimidating to walk into a room of professionals and talk about your child. These people have the training and should be experts in the field. Therefore, they should know what they are talking about. Now, this is true, but the thing that you need to remember is that you're the expert on your child. You know their history, what has worked in the past, what hasn't, and you have a pretty good idea of what might help them in the future. This meeting will also be where you can make some decisions to affect your child's future. Now, the professionals in this meeting are wanting the best outcome for your child, but they tend to focus on the academic year ahead and their time in school, whereas you as a parent are concerned about their entire future and want to make sure that they can succeed outside of the school setting. One thing I want to remind you is that if your child has a low incidence issue, you likely know a lot more than they do about that condition. I know in my own experience, I have a child with a low incidence disability, and even when we go in to see medical professionals, they're like, you know what? You know more about this condition than I do. So I'm going to listen to you about how you think this affects your child. The other thing that you need to consider is that you know what your child is like outside of school. You would be amazed at how well a child can mask their feelings and problems at school, only to have it all fall apart when they walk in the door at home. You can have a better idea about how they are interacting with their peers and whether they are really understanding what is being said in the classroom, or they're just passively floating through the lesson and trying to get by. So, as you can see, there is a lot of insight that you can provide to this meeting that the teachers and professionals sitting across from you can't. IEP mistake number 2, thinking the IEP is complete once the meeting is over. IEPs are living documents that need to adjust to the changing needs of your child. The IEP meeting is meant to discuss these changes and then update the document to reflect your child's changing needs. During the IEP meeting, you are creating a draft of this new document, so you can have comments that you want to add after the IEP meeting before that year's IEP has been finalized. Now, while schools are only typically required to have one formal IEP meeting a year, you can always request to have meetings to discuss things with the teacher and staff throughout the academic year to make sure that all your concerns are being addressed. IEP mistake number 3, not creating an IEP binder. IEP binders make life easier because IEP binders make life easier because they keep everything you need organized and together in one place. It means you don't have to go frantically searching throughout the house for the paperwork that you need to review before your child's next IEP meeting. It means that all you have to do is look at one place to find this binder when you want to refer to one of your child's reports or their current IEP. Now, creating an IEP binder is actually quite simple. All you have to do is go find a binder. I suggest using one of the bigger binders that has a 3-inch spine and purchasing some dividers to create sections in the binder. Once you have done this, you can file the appropriate information and reports within the designated sections. Now, it's important that you have these as paper copies and not just somewhere in a cloud, because that means when you are in your IEP meeting and you want to refer to them, you don't have to go look for them and say, oh, I have this at home, or I'll send you a copy later. It means that you can say, look, here it is right here, and you can give them the paper copy of what you are talking about to provide them with clarification or a reminder of something that they cannot remember at the moment. This makes bringing up your points in the IEP meeting more effective and has the proof available to you right when you need it. IEP mistake number 4, thinking that talking about something is enough. Now, this is critical. Anytime that you speak to someone at the school about concerns for your child, you need to make sure that you follow it up with an email. This can be a simple email that says, "Dear teacher, thank you for our conversation today. I wanted to follow up by saying this is what I took from the conversation," and then list them. This means that you have a paper record of the conversation you had about your child, and that the teacher also has this information. Now, it gives them also the time to respond to you if they felt that the conversation went differently. Once you have finished this conversation, you can then print it off and file it away in your IEP binder so that you can make reference to it in the future if you need to. Having this means that you can take it out and provide proof that the conversation happened if the individual is saying that they don't remember the conversation. Now, every day, teachers have hundreds of conversations, and if they say that they don't remember a conversation, it could be valid. I mean, I don't remember every conversation I have every day, and that's why you need to make sure that you take the time to send this follow-up email. IEP mistake number 5, quickly making decisions about your child's placement. Now let me preface this by saying that there are some individuals with lower incidence disabilities where it's quite obvious that they cannot follow any of the classroom curriculum. However, this is not the case for the majority of students. There typically are at least some things that they should be able to follow the curriculum with their peers. For students who have problems in one area of the curriculum, that is the only area of the curriculum that should be changed. And if this change is made, you need to make sure that there is a plan in place to get your child back onto the regular classroom curriculum as soon as possible. If you have a child that has a program that has been changed, it's considered a modification. Modifications will have implications on whether they can graduate high school with a full diploma or whether they will have a high school completion certificate. So these decisions need to be made carefully. That being said, there is no reason why a child who is struggling in elementary school cannot have a modification made to their program to allow them to catch up to their peers and then be placed on the regular classroom curriculum. IEP mistake number 6, going into an IEP meeting alone. Now this is one that I cannot stress enough. Going into an IEP meeting can be very emotional because you are faced with your child's diagnosis, and it can be very painful to see this information brought up again. Some of the emotions that you felt when your child got their original diagnosis are bound to surface. That is why you always take someone with you into the IEP meeting. This person can be in charge of taking notes and supporting you during that meeting so that you can make sure you have the ability to focus all your attention on what's being said. They can also help make sure that you are clearly communicating your concerns to the teachers and the school-based team. Now, I suggest taking a family member or a friend with you in this meeting to help support you. However, if you don't have someone that is able to attend this meeting with you, you should try and reach out to a local advocacy group or to see if the school district has a parent advocate who can assist you in this meeting. Make sure that you take the time before you go into the meeting to discuss your goals with them so that they know what you hope to accomplish during this meeting, and they can help refocus you to keep you on task if they need to. IEP mistake number 7, going into an IEP meeting without a plan. It's very important that you go into your child's IEP meeting with a plan. You need to make sure that you take the amount of time that you need to write down your concerns that you have for your child and review any new documentation that has been created for your child. You should also review their previous IEPs and decide whether you feel your child is making progress towards the goals and objectives discussed. You should look into the accommodations and modifications that were added in the previous year or that your child is currently using to make sure that they are listed in this new IEP. I think it's important to have a list of things that you want to be added to this new IEP so you don't have an instance where you forget something. I want you to make sure that you do take the time to go through the emails that you've printed off and filed into your IEP binder so that you can flag the ones that you think you might want to bring up for referencing during the meeting. This means that you won't be trying to frantically search for them when you're discussing them in the meeting. Taking the time to make a plan for the IEP meeting means that you go in with a focus and you can help guide your child's school-based team to make the decisions they need to make and that you want them to make for your child's upcoming school year. IEP mistake number 8, allowing the team to review new reports with you and discuss your child's transition during the IEP meeting. I want to remind you that the purpose of an IEP meeting is to discuss your child's individualized education plan. It is not appropriate for the school-based team to be bringing you new information or discussing reports that have been done for your child. The discussion of new reports needs to be done in their own separate meetings. The IEP meeting should also not discuss ways to support your child through an upcoming transition into a new school, a new grade, or after graduation. this should be done in a separate transition meeting. However, it is all right to create goals to help prepare your child for their next transition, and it's important to do so. You want to help your child have the best success in the transition. IEP mistake number 9, requesting your child to receive special services and not an assessment. If you think your child needs specialist support, make sure that you're asking for them to receive an assessment that will produce a formal report. This way, you can file that report in your IEP binder and make reference to it when you want your child to receive support, and incorporate the recommendations into your child's IEP. When you're just requesting a specialist like an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, a behavior interventionist, or a speech and language pathologist, they may just provide an opinion based on what they're seeing in the classroom during a short period. When you ask for your child to do or to receive an assessment from this specialty, then that specialist needs to use standardized measures to look to see where your child is compared to where they should be based on their age. Once they use these measures, they must create a formal report that contains where your child is and the recommendations that they have to support your child to get to where they need to be. As I said before, this gives you the documentation that you need to provide the proof that your child needs help and support in the classroom to reach these goals. These recommendations in the report will help inform goals and objectives for the IEP. So make sure, don't just ask for your child to see a specialist. Ask them to be assessed by a specialist. You want to see this report and be able to reference it in the future. And finally, IEP mistake number 10, not understanding the terminology before you go into the IEP meeting. Not understanding the terminology that is used during an IEP meeting can have huge effects of your understanding of the process and your comfort during the meeting. I know I don't enjoy being part of a conversation where I don't understand what's being said because I don't know what the words mean that they're using. Especially when this conversation is about my child and it's going to have an impact on their life. There are terms in individualized education plans like accommodations and modifications that are a little bit similar because they are about how changes have been made to your child's academic program, but they have very significant differences. Now, these are terms that I have seen seasoned teachers even struggle with knowing the difference between them. Now, the problem with that is that if your child has accommodations made to their program, they will still be able to graduate with a high school diploma. But if they have modifications made to their academic program, they're not going to graduate with a high school diploma. They will receive a certificate of completion. It's true that you can always ask people in the meeting for a definition of a word that you're not sure of, but that's not going to give you the time you need to really understand what it means and be able to apply that knowledge to the conversation. It's much better for you to go into a meeting with at least a general understanding of the terms that you're going to be coming across within that meeting, because then you can be a more active participant in the conversations and the decisions made about your child. Now that I've shared these 10 facts about individualized education plans with you, are you wanting to know more? Let me ask you a couple questions. How would you like to get more information about the IEP process? Do you want me to take you through a step-by-step guide of creating your IEP binder? Would you like the chance to know the terminology you can expect to hear during an IEP meeting? Do you want me to show you how to prepare for your child's IEP meeting? If you answered yes to any of these questions, I suggest you click on the link below to register for my course, A Parent's Guide to IEPs. In this course, I'll cover all this information and more. You will also want to join our Facebook group called Garforth Education's Exceptional Parents. In this group, I share lots of resources with you that are free to help support your child's development, both academically and socially. I hope to see you in the group soon.